I'm excited to introduce our next guest speaker, who actually is a return speaker. She was here several years ago, as you may recall, Mariam Ibrahim, who is somebody who has lived discrimination and persecution. She was most well known for being imprisoned in Sudan when she was pregnant and giving birth in that prison. Today, she has her daughter Maya with her, as well as her son Martin. Thank you for bringing your children. Since the time that Mariam last spoke at our conference, she and some other women who are also tied to persecution, one who is from Iran, Nagme Panahi, founded an organization together called Tahrir al-Nija Foundation. I'm probably not pronouncing that quite right. But they've continued their work around the world, particularly focusing on helping women. So she's going to tell us a little bit more about that and the situation in Sudan. And with that, let's welcome Mariam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, I'm not a professional speaker, but I like what you said. I like what you asked me, because normally when I get invited, they give me a list of what I should say and what I shouldn't say, and avoid naming and shaming. And I have I have a lot of challenges with that. But I like when Lindsay said, "We just share your heart." And actually, that's what I share. And that's what is the story of the persecuted church is about. It's what's in our heart. And it is Jesus. And it's all the good news and all the goodness is of Him. So I came late, but I saw the very interesting picture that we have a lot of challenge with on the video you showed. And it's the 21 Coptic martyrs that are being slaughtered in Libya. You can see the fear even behind the mask on the soldiers, but you see the courage. I still, like, every time I remember I see anything about all the suffering that's happening in the world, I just remember that courage I see in their eyes and in their face. And that picture end up having, when I just have to post it every memorial, I have my Facebook account was shut off just a few seconds after I posted that picture. And I posted it with a Bible verse and Quran verse, explaining the reason why this soldier gives himself right to kill these people, and why this 21 Christ soldiers, actually, they are, and not giving up their faith, even in the face of death. So, as I said, I'm not a professional speaker, but I'll try my best to share a little bit about what's happening in Sudan now. We see that in the news, but I have something really in my heart about what's happening in Sudan, because every time I see this chaotic and suffering and death, and I go and sit and pray, and I have peace knowing what's happening in Sudan now is biblical. And you see, if you read a book of Isaiah, you will know what I see. Sudan is mentioned in the Bible, especially the horsemen that are involved, the rapid support force when they established by the Bashir regime to fight in Darfur on behalf of Sudanese military. They use horses. They call themselves Fursan, right? In Arabic, which means the horseman. So it's biblical. So let's just know that God sees and God works through the challenges. I speak with people on the ground, and I have lots of really interrupting reports, people experience. But again, back to the media and how people really report what's happening in Sudan. And because it's general, like people are dying, you don't see mosques being attacked, but church was burned down and vandalized. You never see any mosques being burned down or being attacked by the militia. But church are burned down. Christian homes are being vandalized, and people are questioning, like, what's your faith? Because the rapid support forces don't have any ground. They don't have any homes. They don't have any place. They are there. They are forcing people to leave, to flee their home and business and taking over. And this is happening in Darfur and Nuba Mountain for years, but people don't see it that way because there's no any attention, there's no any media attention is that. And during that time, even though there's a war and people are dying, there are people coming to Christ, especially in Darfur region and in Nuba Mountain. The church is growing, and that's very interrupting to the corrupt and to the militia, especially the Muslim Brotherhood, because they're fighting in South Sudan and in that region. They want to get rid of Christian. They just want to wash off the Christian from that region. But by the grace of God, they're never able to do that, and they still continue fighting and killing with no reason. Like, if you just look at why these people are fighting now, they have power, they have money, but they buy a heavy gun and equipment when people are hungry, people are dying, without thinking, like, what is the motivation? Why are they even doing that? So it's sad to witness, and again, I will say God is working through the situation and what's happening in Sudan now. Let's just continue to pray for the church, just to have the courage, because one of the nuns said, I'm not going to Holland because that's her origin. I'm staying because that's why we are here. We are in the time of chaos, or time of fear. We're here to bring Christ to the people. And I have to think, like, why she's saying that. And many times when we talk about what's happening in our countries, we get misinterpreted and we called hateful or bringing misinformation or bringing, but we speak the truth. Even though the word we use only to explain and to tell what's happened, our stories and the story of the people who are suffering. We're using the words to explain other people's action, and yet we be misunderstood, as being judged and called hateful. So when I think about the nuns and the priests and the church communities that are still serving, even though in Egypt or in all the countries, especially, I have a lot of story with the Coptic community. So there's something I want you to know, that when we call that, we know that he told us that we called names and we be mistreated and face persecution just because of our love for Christ. And there is something about, you have to not to talk about certain things, avoid naming and shaming, especially when you talk about Islamic law. And when you come to confront them about why you mistreat Christian and why you persecute Christian, they respond and say, no, our religion didn't say that. They always come to defend their religion, especially in Islam, because we live in Islamic country. That's why when they say, no, Quran said, they mention Surah Al-Kafirun. Surah Al-Kafirun exactly said that everybody has their faith, every have belief. You have your belief and I have my belief. The reason Surah Al-Kafirun actually came is not because of that. It's not example of how Islam is a peaceful religion, of how it's not set as example for freedom of religion in Islam. Surah Al-Kafirun, when it came because when Muhammad came to Quraysh, they offered him, he said, when Muhammad came to attack a village or, region, he go and speak to the, you need to listen to this, because he came to speak to the ruler, right? He go to speak to the head of the city or the village or the tribe. He speak, and I know all of you know that already. He told them that I am a messenger of Allah and I have a message from Allah, and you have 3 days. You either agree and accept Islam, or you will face war or death. So when he came to Quraysh, he offered Islam to them. They give him an offer. He say, okay, you are welcome. You come and worship, you visit our place of worship, and we visit your place of worship. You're free to build your place of worship, and we worship together. So he came and he have to, to consult to Allah. So Allah, I'm not sure if I'm giving, but I believe this is the right information I'm sharing with you. He went and spoke to his Sahaba, and he said, I have to consult with Allah. So Allah sent him Surah Al-Kafirun. It is not example of religious freedom. It is a temporary order of how to deal with the unbeliever. And even the name of the surah is very ugly. Surah Al-Kafirun is mean unbeliever. And when you call Al-Kafirun, when you call Kafir, you call many other names. Unbeliever, you deserve to die. I was called those names. My children were called those names. You unbeliever, you deserve to die. You're unclean. But Jesus never says that. He said, you are blessed because you are persecuted. So the world will tell us things, but it's what's in our heart, and Christ is in our heart. The other thing, we'll be told, like, you have to keep the peace, because if you mention certain thing, you bring division in the world. So you just think about that. The peace, even, he said peacemaker, we're children of God. What is kind of peace that Christ wants us to bring in the world? With the political power? It's not. To bring peace when people are afraid, to comfort the suffering and oppressed and persecuted ones. That's the peace Christ's way, I would say. Because when he came, he did that. He picked those who rejected and oppressed and mistreated and afraid. That's are afraid of like what's going to happen in their lives. They are mistreated and lonely. Christ picked them and chose him as his disciple. And by the time they went through and walked through the walk with him, he sent them out to the world. Not to be part of any, political work, but to serve people and to share the gospel with people and to reconcile them with God. Because when people are afraid, they question God. Why there's God if there's so much suffering? So, and that's what I see in some of the work you guys do. Because you know what's happening. Like, I know how the fear that every Coptic or every Christian mother in these countries have in the morning sending your kids to school. You never know what this, especially your girls, if this girl's gonna come back home safe, is she gonna get kidnapped or raped? Because that's the fear these people live every single day. But when, like, baby Shinora's case, I was so attached to that. Especially, I'm very, when it came to children, when it came to the prosecution, I took it very personal. And when it came to children, it's a different story. So, seeing that and not remind, when I remember that thing sometimes, I'm not traumatized, I really not, but we have to be in our heart to be able to question and ask God, what can I do? What you have for me to bring comfort to those people. And that's what you guys do. And I'm very grateful for the work you do. And I know how challenging it is. I know how hard it is, because sometimes people ask you, even now, like when I talk about Sudan and thing, I bring up like, you go and just take care of your children. You are safe. Why are you worried about people there? So you go and take care of your children, mind your own business. But you guys not minding your own business. You're doing what you... I mean, it's about belief. And it's about our heart, again. So I won't take much time, but the other thing also, when we face these trials in life, remember, it's end with death, right? So that's why they fear. I remember that when the first day I walk into the court, the judge will tell me, you know, you're gonna die. So, and so many things that's happened in prison. It was is dangerous situation. But that's how they use remember the Bible tells us about the persecution, the first persecution. The Roman Empire, he killed the Christian wife because he wanted to set example for people not to ever follow them. So when we saw that video, remember the video of the 21 months, those people think they have the power to kill those Christians. And then on the same day, at the same moment, there was I think the 21 is not even a believer, right? And the way we're just about setting example to others, to question why are these people, because we call Christian, crazy and all these names, but the way we stand for our faith and the way we respond to criticism or to oppression. When you follow with the scripture, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, we set example to people. Like, who are these people? Why are they, we face so many questions like that. Because that's what's happening now in Iran and in some countries. Whenever there's a heavy persecution, there's more people are coming to Christ. That's our message, is to share the gospel with people, with the world. It's very important that, we remember this persecution is real and it's written. We face persecution, but how we respond to that. How we respond to people when you face trials in life. You never to rely on the power of man, but in God alone, in Christ alone. Because they fear of death. He said, do not fear the one who kill the body, but body and soul. So, I appreciate your work and all you do, and I'm very grateful to be here. And as I said, I'm not going to talk too much. I am not a good public speaker. I tried my best, and I hope you guys continue your serving and your work. And Mighty, I'm very grateful for you and for your team, brother. May God bless you and bless all the work you do. And our calling is for justice and serving others. I don't know, do you have a question?
Would you be willing to take a few questions?
Maybe, yeah.
Then I'll start. My question for you is, with what's happening in Sudan to Christians right now, what do you see as the most helpful or useful thing that NGOs can do to support and also concerned individuals in the U.S.? What do you see our role as?
So I think the prayer is number one thing, and reach out to people, because now people are afraid to move around or do anything. There's so much fear in there. So as a believer in the body of Christ, I believe it's very important we connect. And I think just the truth is really important, because I personally have challenging saying that, hey, there is something happening with the Christian community, and I immediately shut off. No, what's happening is not about Christianity. It's not about Christian. These people not even present Islam. So there is things that are happening. Even we offer adoption to the children on the mycoma, and this is very hard stories about why these children in there, because the life under Islamic Sharia law. Some of those children who came out from just outside marriage relationship. So some of this, I personally know, I met some of these women in prison. And when some of them, they came to report rape and they got pregnant, but the law twisted all the story. and they ended up being charged with adultery, and they get flogged. How you charge one person with crime like adultery? Because nobody believed them. That's how horrible it is for women in Islamic Sharia law. Like, a girl went to report rape and she's 17 years old. She's afraid because she's gonna face honor killing at home. The police officer beat her down, and nobody will believe you. The judge will never believe you. And there's not even enough resources like to seek support somewhere else other than, the legal system here. You go and report rape, you see how situation will be. But they don't have support. So just like stories like that, we follow up and listen and reach out and ask questions. And if there's something like that, we needed to bring it up. I have challenging really sharing things in social media, but with personal, I do that, share that, and you guys out there already. Thank you.
I want to thank you very much for bringing your family.
My children, yeah. They are.
It's really good.
They're always with me.
I invite all of us and each one of us next time to come to this distinguished meetings to bring his family. We need the message to be carried by new generation and coming out generation. So
Thank you. They always go with me everywhere. They ask me to hide them because their life is going to be in danger, but I told them we survived prison. We'll be all right.
You mentioned that the militias taken the houses and the churches right now in the war in Sudan. Is this only the Dam Sharia militias, or both parties are attacking the churches?
So now, no, the more dangerous part is the military, that's part of the government. They're saying that they're defending the people because the fighting is between two of them. Like the Rapid Support Force are trying to take over the government. They wanna, because I think, and I believe they do, because Hamiti, he have lots of money and business, and he invests in the gold, with his relationship with Russia, and so he have that, he believe he have that power to take. So he's fighting because he wanna be on the top of the leadership of the country. So, but that's the more dangerous part is the Rapid Support Forces, which is I will call them militia.
So they're both against
No, I don't think, I haven't know much, because even during the war in Darfur in Nuba Mountain, and I'm sure Faith know more of that, the Sudanese military did not want to fight personally. They used Hamitis. That's how they established this group, Rapid Support Forces. And I'm sure Mehdi know also about that. So there's something that's just like any other militia group or whatever. They are part of al-Bashir regime. That's the group he established to fight on that region. And Hamid is the one who, his name is the General Doglo, he is in the top of that. And they are actually more of the tribal, because he has support from his tribes and people in that region. And when he fight against people in the north, because the ideology of like we're from the north and south, where the color of this, that how that people really, take a side when it's come to our tribe or our group. So I don't know if I answered the question, but the more dangerous part of the group now is the Rapid Support Force. So they call it RSF.
So they're both against
each other.
Yeah, we know that.
But yeah, the dangers, the Rapid Support Forces is the one who attacking civilian and Christian mostly.
Okay, so it's the
The Rapid Support Force, yeah.
we have a history of doing this in Darfur.
They have in the Nuba Mountain and in South Sudan. So they are doing, and now they move it to, because that's how they call us, let's just speak peace. But peace that's what they have. How many peace agreements been signed since the war in Darfur? How many peace agreements? But because there's people paying for that peace.
I'm a Sudanese Coptic.
I just came out of Sudan a week before the war. I just, there's a point that I don't agree with you, which is this war is not between Christians and Muslims. This war is between two forces who want power. You mentioned that they're only attacking the churches, but this is not right, because what is happening is the rebel forces, the Janjaweed, they're placing themselves inside the churches and mosques. And who is bombing those places are the army. Yes, they did force the bishops out of the churches in order to establish themselves inside the churches. But they really occupied all the churches and some of the mosques. But do you think that this is a war between Christians and Muslims? That's number one question. The number two question is, what I think is, yes, we are minorities in Sudan. We have been hit hard. But you cannot find a single Christian that was killed by a bullet, maybe one or two, compared to the Muslims. We are minorities. We try to escape. But they are fighting each other for power and for gold. This is just my point of view. My question to you, do you think this is a war between Christian and Muslim? It's not like in Egypt. In Egypt, yes. If you are a Christian and you want to go, you're offered a job and you're a Christian, they don't offer it to you. They say, sorry, being a Christian, you cannot. But from what I've been living in Sudan, this was not the situation in Sudan. Thank you.
So I actually mentioned that's why is the war, who's involved in the war, the two parties. So I didn't say it is between Christian and Muslim because Christian never fight back. That's the story. I clearly said that there is bad situation happening, and that's the truth, but the Christians are more suffering. And you cannot tell me that's not happening. Because I lost family members, church family members on the fighting, and I had Yusuf. Their house is being bombed. 7 family members. They are Christians. They are Christian and Muslim died.
Who bombed the houses?
The Rapid Support Forces, and that's the Rapid Support Forces.
They bombed?
They did. The Rapid Support Forces are there. And even the Sudan, I can defend them here in this case. It's strange, but they know, they keep tracking where is the Rapid Support Forces go, where they're staying, and they bomb where they're at. Because the Rapid Support, even Muhammad, my lawyer, his family was being kicked out of their house by the Rapid Support Forces. And this individual, and you can recognize them, because from that region they speak different language, and some of them they speak French, because most of them are from Chad, and Chad speak French. Chadians speak French. You can recognize who they are. The Sudanese military never attack home. They never enforce somebody out of their home. They never force church members out of their church. But the Rapid Support Forces did. And I'm very sorry to hear something like that, but I have to tell you this. I always deal with things like that. We listen, we talk, we speak, we share what we know. And the response is questioning what we share. And this is very dangerous narrativity, because I never said this war between Christian and Muslim. I said in a war, in a conflict, Christian and women and girls are the ones who suffer. And they have no support. That's truth. That's truth. And if you ask me why al-Bashir regime fight all these years, Faith know that, and she can tell you, Mahdi know that. Politically, they want to get rid of Christian. When they attack the village in Darfur, why do they kill men and hold women as in Islam they have sabaya or position, whatever, how do you call it? You can, and that's what's happening in Nigeria now. You see how it's connected, because that's the Islamic teaching. You know, when you married to a non-Muslim woman, you get children and those kids will become a Muslim. That's how they get rid of Christianity. You kill male and hold woman as a sex slave. You have children from that. You cannot tell me that's not happening.
I didn't say it.
You cannot tell me that's not happening.
I didn't say
And
it.
the war is not between Muslim and Christian. The war between two groups, powerful groups. And Hamid's main purpose of this war is to take over the government. He wants to lead the country. How he's going to lead the country when he kicking out the bishop out of the church, when he vandalizing the church, when he burn down the church? What's going to happen to Christian in a situation like that? How do you expect he will treat Christian? In Sudan, we faced, I wasn't allowed to get my certificate from Khartoum University. Not just me. We forced to study Islamic teaching in the school, and we don't have Sunday school. In public school, we're not allowed to study. You have to pass Islamic teaching. If you do not pass Islamic teaching, if you do not memorize the scripture, you're not going to be allowed to move to the second grade before four main subjects. It's Arabic, English, Islamic teaching, and what's the next? Someone to remind me. Arabic, English, Islamic teaching, or two Islamic teaching. Quran. You have to memorize. If you did not pass that test, you're not going. Then you are Christian. You are sitting in the bench next to Muslim student. You both reading Surah Al-Anfal. You see how ugly was that? It's telling them how to prepare for war against the unbeliever and giving them permission to kill unbelievers. That is the truth, my brother. That's what's happening. And we are not sharing it because we hate them. We love them because we love the truth. And we want justice. That's what we want. Our main reason, we're sharing, we're talking not just with energy, but we want to see justice, because what's happening is unjust.
Thank you, Mariam. And what you said, it all goes back to the idea of building the caliphate in Sudan too. The Mahdi of Sudan said that Sudan was to be an Islamic caliphate. I don't know if you remember, there were leaked documents from Khartoum when Bashir was still there, putting out a plan, and this was all part of the plan that was coming. But my question for you, you talked about being willing to say the hard things that people didn't want you to say. I feel like we squandered the opportunity to really bring about religious freedom and peace in Sudan, and the U.S. was a big part of that, because they insisted on having Hamedi and Burhan and all of them, every bad guy, be part of the government. It had to be totally inclusive. You had to have all the bad guys in the new government, even after Bashir was kicked out, which meant that it was really not a different government. Do you think I'm right on that?
Yes, you're right. And we also shared the letter we sent in 2019 asking for sanction against Hamiti. And out of nowhere, Hamiti was okay. He was given a green light to be part of the new transitional government.
Susan Rice did that.
So our letter was stated exactly why he's not supposed to be part of any, leading government. And I believe that's was the peace. That's what they want. That's because they want peace. But that's not a peace. That's I don't know how to go. Yeah. Yes,
I read an article in Wall Street Journal about the Sudan, and they documented that Muslims and Christians, they all have been suffering in Sudan. Actually, 98% of the people that they have died during the wars in Sudan are Muslims. On the other hand, you as a Christian and Muslims in Sudan, you are all victims of the Islamic extremism. And they documented that, Iran, again, finance and control, and even they have military base to support all of those militias in South. On the other hand, Christian, they cannot be in Sudan if you don't have the support of the Muslims. So, it's the same story, the same scenario. And also, you mentioned that the Prophet of Islam was giving the people 3 days to accept Islam. I don't think that's not true. Why is not true? Because if in the beginning of Quran, God ordered Muslims and Muhammad to follow Ibrahim, and whatever came to Ibrahim, follow Moses and Torah, his book. God tell us and Muhammad, and we follow Jesus Christ and whatever is in the Bible. And even if the person prayed a star. On the other hand, Muhammad had no permission that after conquer territory, ask the people to become Muslim. No, he was asking the rulers. They had 3 days to surrender to Muslims. And the Prophet of Islam was at war for almost, if I'm not mistaken, 100 wars. This man, he was the commander of 100 wars. And all of them were for slavery and saving the people to slavery, especially the women. It doesn't have nothing to do with Islam and Shiite, Jewish people who they are. I mean, you have to correct that. Again, it's the same trap. You see, wherever you go, it's the same damn trap that you accept that this is Islam, what you are doing.
Yeah. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay, no, I have to respond to you. Here's what I say, and this is true. You go back to read where you get this information from, because Islam, when Muhammad asks the ruler to surrender, the ruler have to give order. This is how they rule to their people. They ask him to say a shahada. They do believe in Jesus. They do believe, but not to follow. There's a difference between believe and follow. They exist. But Allah sent Muhammad as the end of all those prophets. He sent Muhammad, and a shahada is very clear. When you accept Islam, you say Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. No one after that you believe is different than follow. They believe the existence of Christ. Yes, they do believe. They believe there's many, even the story of Christ's birth and what's happened to Angel Gabriel, how it's talked to Mary, the same is in Quran. I agree with you on that. But there's only way, I can say it as Christ, as a Christian say, the way for salvation is through Muhammad and Quran. That's how it is.
So they believe to that?
No, there is no, my brother, it's truth. It's truth. And he does tell people after 3 days, if you do not surrender, if you do not accept Islam, there is a war that happen. And even after the death of Muhammad, Harb al-Ridda, when it came to apostasy and blasphemy, they said no, there is no blasphemy and apostasy law in Islam. There is a law, Harb al-Ridda. Why? Because people after Muhammad's death, they decided to go back to worship their whatever they worship. So Khalid ibn al-Walid, he established the war, Harb al-Ridda. When you get into war, what expecting? War, that's exactly what's happening there. For in Sudan, war kill Muslim and Christian. Christian and Muslim die. The war, why they are? Why? Because even they call people who follow and who they call them unbeliever. My lawyer was called unbeliever. They were forced to live to them because they defended my case. You have established friendship with non-believer. Who are you? You are like them. That is very important. They do believe in the existence of Muhammad, of Christ. That's happening, but there is no God other than Allah. And this is for us Christians very important. You cannot worship Christ, but Allah. That's what they tell us. And I was given 3 days. The Imam said, you have 3 days. This is according to Islamic Sharia law. You have 3 days to change your mind. And I'm glad my case is not just about me, because I will 100% sure everybody will say I'm lying. But the day I was sentenced, they almost 200 group of people from non-profit organization and I have no idea who they are. Because I'm in that prison, I have no access to communication with outside the world. That has happened, and that is very important. We speak, and when we listen to this word, please just listen with your heart, not with you. Because I know that many of people would listen and they want to respond and they want to defend. But as a believer and as a Christian, I want you to know that when I speak, when I share my story, I have no intention than telling the truth. And all I want to see justice. And I want to see peace, Christ's way, comfort to the oppressed and the persecuted and the suffering ones. Just like what Coptic solidarity bring into the heart of the families that were facing persecution in the Coptic community. Thank you.